Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of real estate investing and the random things that make life interesting. I'm John Woodfield, joined by my co-hosts Carlos Zamora from Carrot/Investor Fuse and Brandon, aka Papa P, with his lovely new handle from Ted Sysops. How's it going, gents? Having a good week?
Missed you last week.
I know. I had a fun weight loss episode between Friday and Saturday. No, Thursday, Friday. But I'm feeling fine now. But
Good.
I'm curious. I can't remember if we talked about it on the show, but we were talking with Papa P. He went to Auburn. Why can't I pronounce the name of that college correctly? Auburn. This week, and we talked about mobile home park, really tailored towards bringing people in for the games with their RVs. Did you go visit it while you were up there?
Bro, I had no time to do anything. I got back at 3:30 in the morning.
I was just curious if you had gathered ideas of what that could be like.
It was a bit of a drive. I intended on visiting a couple mobile home parks, and but just things did not pan out. Apparently, moving a kid into an apartment for college is a much bigger task. Apartment. Auburn, 70% of Auburn students live off campus.
That's what it's like here.
They do not have enough campus housing. Okay. It's really, that was one of the reasons why we weren't going to send her there.
Okay.
And then coincidentally, one of the guys at the city in Cordell, when I was sitting down with them about my mobile home park in Georgia, his son went there, and everything he said completely changed my mind. And from that moment, I went home, talked to my daughter about switching her colleges. She called up Auburn, used her because it was past the deadline. So for anyone who missed their deadline, it's possible. We were 2-3 weeks past the deadline of acceptance on her offer in scholarships, and she sold them. I didn't do anything. I didn't call. I just told her, I was like, hey kid, if you want to do this, you need to figure out how to beg and plead and get them in. So she got rejected 3 different times. She emailed all the department heads. Eventually it got back to the person who initially rejected her, and then that person. And I told her it was such a fucking line, dude. She'd go, we got your email. Well, I'm going to present this to my boss and we'll respond back to you and see if we can.
This is after she went over her head?
After she went over her head. I was like, yeah, she's just saving face right now. And then they let her. So.
Good.
That's awesome.
Everything.
She's there. Yeah, I wanted to go see a couple parks. I did not go see that RV thing. I saw a few more on the way there that are very intriguing. There's just a lot around there. But this building, I mean, it's shit, dude. I was telling Brittany, I was like, we
the apartment where your daughter's at?
Yeah. I was like, we talk shit on our mobile homes, but and it's not a bad apartment. I mean, they're newer, they're nice. It's a complex that anybody in our industry would want to buy. It is a phenomenal A-class building in an A-class location. But dude, inside, I was like, man, this is kind of like our mobile home park. I mean, they got granite, but they got the same cabinets. I was like, underneath the sink cabinets are all warped and popped up from water use. The trim is you get some landlord special where there's gnawing or marks, and instead of replacing it, they just double, triple coat paint it. It's you know what I mean? I'm there's spiders everywhere, and the lady comes in. I didn't say I was in the business, but she's just this is one of our toughest turns. We did a lot on it, and there might be some stuff wrong. I'm like, well, yeah, there's a hole in the wall, the fan doesn't work, and she's like, they were here till 3 o'clock last night trying to get everything done because everything's new in here. And I'm like, well, the cobwebs up in the corner would say otherwise. No one's been up in here painting anything in a long time. I was like, and it's fine. I don't even care because I told the other moms, because she has 3 roommates, and they're all complaining. I was like, it's student housing. It'll build character. There's mold coming from the vent fan in the bathroom.
Nice.
And I'm like, dude, dude, you'll be fine, bro. You'll be fine. I killed a couple spiders. We're good.
So my niece is in an apartment here in Gainesville. She goes to UF, and she's right off campus. Literally, across the street is campus. And It's like four bedrooms, a shared living room, shared kitchen, and then 2 shared baths between the bedrooms.
It's the same layout. It's a standard, yeah.
At the price she pays, I
Yeah,
think
what is it?
like $1,200 a month.
So we're paying about like $500-600 per room in this. So they're
that
getting
makes
about
better sense.
No, I mean, but the size is only 1,152 square feet, so it's
Or
really
the whole apartment.
yeah. So it's
Okay,
really
hers
not
is
bigger.
definitely bigger.
It's not bigger than like a regular 2-2 or something that you would find in a standard apartment. They just chopped it up. I mean, the rooms are really. I mean, again, I'm not complaining. Like, this is ideal, and I would buy this apartment and run this business. It's a great business model.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah. Around
basically, it's
college
just
towns?
yeah, and they only let college students in. They have a deal. They brand it as the college, but it's not owned by the college. So a lot of parents think it is, and I'm trying to explain to people like this is just a business model. Student housing is a business model. It's a phenomenal business model. They're making bank. You know, $2,500 a month on the 1,100 square foot apartment. You know, it's pretty.
It's the parents paying for it or subsidized through
it's
scholarships and stuff.
So for us, we got
For the most
FAFSA.
part.
So I mean, it's student loan. So I paid so far, but as soon as she gets her FAFSA check, so you apply for it, she'll get a refund, and then that refund will go. Like, we worked out a budget before she left of like what to spend, and we're gonna put some money in Bitcoin. And I told her, I was like, kid, like, because it's deferred. So I was like, listen, if you have like $5 or so grand left over after all your bills, because you apply for like all this miscellaneous stuff.
Yeah.
And she has a food plan and all that. And I was like, you know, you're deferred on interest. That's free money. I was like, if you invest that money today in 4 years, that $5 grand could be worth 40 grand. Yeah, obviously these returns are not typical, but I'm talking about investing in something like a Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. That's just who I am. And I was like, all that money's free money, and it's like no interest at all. It could literally pay off an entire semester or everything of what you owe.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that each semester.
That's pretty cool. But long before I found out what real estate investing was, and before I started consulting and doing Podio stuff, do you guys remember an HGTV show back in the day? I can't remember this guy's name, but he was like the original like investor on HGTV, and he would only do almost pad splits in college towns. And so he would go find a house, a single family house, and then turn it into like a place that college kids could come into. I think it's crazy. Like, I mean, I don't know any investors that do multifamily around college towns, but I could just imagine like
it's first time I heard of it was genius. Yeah, I didn't hear about it like this. I was at a John Martinez sales course back in like 21 or something, and he had this woman come up, and I mean her story, yada yada yada, sob story. All of a sudden, she bought some buildings around. I'm gonna mess it up, whatever college town, and she realized that it was genius. And she's like, I make them pay for the whole year, even though they don't live there, and it's the parents paying. And I make them find their own roommates. And she's talking about houses, so she built up houses around. And this was obviously she had done this back when, you know, you were before anybody knew about it, and you were buying houses at a cheap rate.
Yeah,
I mean, she's making bank, dude, and she charges anywhere from like $500-600 to $800-900 a room, depending on the college, depending on the thing. And I remember writing it down, going, but I was on the mobile home park path at that point, so you know.
Yeah. It seems like a pretty solid business model. You got to like, there's a lot of turnover, but it seems like there's always people that are wanting it regardless.
If you think about it, so like in my college, I mean, me and my roommate, like we rented like a trailer outside of campus. Like I stayed with the same landlord, and when I moved into my trailer, I got my roommate, and then he was a year behind me, and then he stayed, and then his roommate with him stayed. And so like that landlord was basically just carrying over either one of the roommates, who then was responsible to find his other roommate. I mean, you know, it was a so there's not, and we had to pay for the whole thing. So I mean, I paid for the whole year. It's not like May came along and I'm like done. So I mean, for him, and let's be honest, Tim did not fix anything. In fact, I drove by it, no shit, the same broken window from 20 years ago in the basement. It's still fucking broken. I drove by, I sent it to my old roommate, and I sent him a photo of it because we still talk. And he's like, "Is that window still broken?" And I was like,
"That's hilarious."
I was like, "This guy hasn't fixed anything, dude. It's still this no paint. It's been 20 years since I went back to that campus because I haven't gone back since I graduated when I took my daughter up there. I was like, this thing is like this. It's like a time capsule. He hasn't done anything. So, I mean, he makes bank off of it.
That's really interesting.
If she went there, I was going to buy it, but
I remember one of the biggest agents that was like, he was like on a lot of Bigger Pockets podcasts. He's from Maryland originally, Pat Hyben. You know that name? He was big in student housing and even had properties in College Park. But a lot of that makes sense where it's like the person living in it, for the most part, isn't like directly funding it. Like they either are using subsidiaries, loans.
Yeah, I mean,
parents helping in some form or fashion.
It's always the parents, bro. Like even still, so I didn't co-sign, but her mom did. It's just, obviously we do different things, but she signed and then I paid, so we split the responsibility. So I mean, I may not be on the hook liability. I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. But it's just like she couldn't sign that lease on her own. They made a parent sign. They didn't make both parents. They just needed a parent to sign. So Lauren signed for our daughter, and then I was the one who paid until FAFSA kicks in. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they get you, dude. Like, they're making sure, and they wouldn't give us the keys. So, like...
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they sent you out a letter like, hey, you don't get your freaking keys until you make your first payment, regardless of the fact that they know the loans haven't come through yet. So, and when I went in there...
Are they making her pay up front once the loans come in, or is she month to month?
She's month to month. They're month to month, so, but I'm making her pay it all at once. So I said, you get...
So they let you do that?
Yeah, well, listen, I don't know any landlord in the world that doesn't want money up front. But the only reason, well, that's actually not true, but it's a red flag if somebody comes to your place and is like, I have no credit, I have no background, but I'll give you a year's worth of money up front in cash. That's a fucking red flag. But for this anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen too many kids. Like, I knew kids, they'd get their refund check and they'd blow it all within a month of different things, trips, clothes, and then they'd be like broke for the next like 3 months of semester because they blew it all and they're eating and they're begging you to put you on their meal swipe and plans. I mean, I knew people like that, so I said, let's not let that happen to you, kid.
Yeah, I appreciate how involved you are in guiding your family through understanding what the real world would be like. My parents didn't do that, and it's definitely, as my kids get older, something I will be intentionally focusing on with them.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, I get it, and you will, as most people, but for me, it's different because, and I had her in college, so this was only like 19 years ago for me. I mean, I literally could still remember. Now, it was going to be different for like my youngest, Agni. I mean, in another 18 or 17 years, like my memories are going, you know what I mean? That's a complete different thing, but like this is literally like 19 years ago. Just,
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, so it's very fresh in my mind.
Challenging enough just to take care of myself. I have a good challenge there. I couldn't imagine having kids that early.
Yeah, it was obviously we had great help, great family. Mom was excellent.
It's the same thing. I did the same thing.
Yeah, it's just when you have a good support system. I'm not saying it was easy or anything, but it's like you have a good support system as a teen having a kid. Like it's possible.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it's possible without it. I just can't speak to that.
Yeah, same. Well, some stuff's been happening in the world. And so I'm going to see if I can list out some facts. I don't follow the real estate investing in social media like you two do, so I'm curious what kind of impressions you might have. But so the jobs report came out. What was that? Was it last weekend? Or last Friday, something like that. And then
the Kamala crash.
Yeah, and then Monday the stock market crashed. Not crash, but dropped significantly. I don't think it's rebounded, but they're not declining anymore, if I remember correctly from what I looked up earlier in the week. So people are scared about jobs. So basically, like did it raise, or just the new jobs created was lower than expected?
My understanding is unemployment went up to the highest point it's been since 2021. Listen, I just, John, I can't even speak to it. I don't believe any of their numbers, because when it comes to like the biggest thing is like when it comes to statistics and stuff, like even CPI, like the stuff they price in and inflation.
Yeah.
I was getting into an
Inflation
argument.
is slowing.
Yeah, I was getting into an argument with somebody on TikTok on one of my posts, and like it's just frustrating because they're like, "Well, inflation's like one of the lowest it's ever been. It's only like," and I'm like, "Have you been, bro? Are you not in like? Do you not exist in? What do you? Where do you exist? Are you an NPC? Like because when I walk into the store, like I don't know, but inflation is a lot more than like 3 point some %. It's like 20%. Real inflation is
Yeah, the
20
real
some
inflation
percent.
number. Yeah, it's
And
so
I
weird.
saw they were pricing, and I'm gonna butcher this, but it was a Big Mac. So they went through McDonald's and Taco Bell and somebody else, maybe KFC or something, and they had like it was like a video, and they showed the 2019 pricing
Yeah.
and they showed the 2024 pricing. Majority of them between like 80 some percent to 120% increase from in 4 years.
I saw a guy. He went onto his Walmart shopping online, and he's
Yeah,
like, I had an
I've seen
order
that.
from like 2019, and I clicked reorder, and it was 4 times more
All of
expensive.
it. And so that's the thing. So I have given examples of things that I buy that have gone up 4 times. The Big Mac stuff has gone up 4 times. You just gave an example. Across the board, people are saying, so that's a 20% year over year increase. Now, listen, I'm all about capitalism and corporate making money, but I also don't believe it has anything to do with cost, because then I read Publix, and I've told you this, Publix, not just their revenue went up, but their profit went up. So
Mhm.
that tells me that they're just taking an advantage of the situation, and I
Right.
love making
People are
money.
expecting prices to increase, so let's
Yeah,
just increase the prices.
Right.
even though our costs aren't going up, because if it truly was pure inflation and not increasing corporate profits, then it would be revenue going up and your profit would be staying the same, because your costs would be going up at the same rate, hypothetically, in a perfect scenario. But it's like I just can't, dude. Like I fucking can't. It's
Mhm.
impossible. So I don't
So
believe any of these numbers that they say. Like I get it's going up, but like, dude, I mean, I run mobile home parks. I see people's incomes. People are struggling.
oh yeah. And like it where was I going with this? What is wrong with my brain today? Um the inflation number is so misleading because I think it's only measuring like from the month before, and so it's such a tinier percentage. So like 20% is what it really is, and people are like inflation only increased by what, I can't even remember what they said the
Yeah,
number
they'll say
was, less
whatever
than
they want to say,
1%.
dude. They'll say whatever
Mm-hmm.
they want to say. Same thing with wage increases. Like you can say whatever you want to say. Oh, people are making more money. It's
So
just
the
all in how
only
you
thing that
analyze the
like
data.
potentially can affect this is consumer behavior, because if people continue to keep buying at the increased prices, if it is indeed as we
You have
think,
no
corporations,
choice.
right? But so that's what started happening last week is people were giving out their earnings from the quarter before, and a lot of them were decreasing. So I think Walmart completely changed all of its financial predictions for the rest of the year. So that got me
No,
like,
I can see that, but I mean, Publix ain't changing shit. You know, the other thing I think I'm gonna mess up the company, but I'm pretty sure it's Kroger is using AI dynamic pricing. Is they're trying to
are you
implement.
serious?
So they're trying to get based on like the user and change pricing at
What
the store
device you're
That's
coming
crazy.
from, and
based
then
on
where you're
it's
at.
something.
Yes.
I didn't read the full article, but I don't know if it's based on, it's not kind of like the surge pricing concept, but based on the individual on demand. So it's like
Mhm.
they're going to adjust their pricing based on what they, and I'm like,
It's like
and
what
so that's,
Instacart's been fucking doing for ages.
dude, I swear, like sometimes I feel like that happens. It's like I think personally, like when I go on Amazon, sometimes I feel like when I search for something, that it price becomes different than if I'm just like looking for it and it just randomly comes up. Sometimes I feel like it's like, and I think Netflix and Amazon do it too. So I've noticed, right? And I can't say this with a fact, but so me and my son will watch, like we watch I'm introducing him to all of the trilogies and series
Mhm.
of movies, so like the Rockies and the Rambos and like the
Nice.
Marvels, okay, all that, right? I
Mhm.
swear, like the Fast and Furious ones too, like
Yeah.
we'll go on and I'll be like, oh, these are like free, cool, and we'll watch like one and maybe two or
The
whatever,
rest
and
of
then
them will
all of a sudden,
change.
yeah, and all of a sudden it's buy it or rent it, and I'm like, now it's been a few days, but like I could have sworn because I'm not stupid. I'm not gonna pick something because I pay so much money. I just hate the fact that they're making me
Yeah,
rent it
same.
when I pay
Out of
Same.
principle, yeah.
$20 a month anyway. And so now I'm hooked because I'm on episode or series movie 3 of a 10 series trilogy or 10 series movie, and I have to now buy it. My son's sitting there like, well, are we gonna watch it? And I'm like, I swear to God, this shit is fucking free, bro.
Mhm.
And same thing, like I'll see it on a carousel and I'll be like,
Mhm.
oh, that's free. And again, maybe the next day or a couple days later, I'll be like, let's watch that movie. And I type it in the search bar,
Mhm.
and now it's a fucking rental. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
swear to God, this is multiple times. I can't speak to facts,
No, I would
but I
believe it.
noticed this coincidence of that happening
Yeah.
multiple times to me.
Isn't it crazy? Like the transparency of like what things are is probably going away at this point in time. Like
It is. It's
you can't
horrible.
even like you couldn't potentially even say the price that you got something or saw something at to somebody else because they're going to see something different.
100%, man. And
Different
it's like
world.
I 100% agree. I believe it. And now Disney's coming out with their own sports streaming app, and it's like, how many more streaming apps do I need to where you're telling me I can't watch this on one thing, I have to have this for something else? And it's like, and then now I'm concerned that like I'm gonna have to buy new Netflix, Hulu's, and all this stuff because my daughter's
But
up in
they're locking
Auburn.
down. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm wondering if they're going to lock her down and say that you're no longer in either me or her mother's house, which were the IPs we were at. And now she's at a complete new IP. And I'm going to be pissed because I already pay. I mean, I'd have to tally it up, dude. But I'm pretty sure between all my streaming services, I have to be hitting $100 a month easy.
Easily.
More because I just purchased the Fubo TV, which is $100 a month. So I'm at $200 a month because Fubo is for like live TV, NFL, CNBC, and I watch the Olympics on it and stuff.
Consumer or not cap. I mean, that's capitalism at its best, right? But it definitely seems to be feeling lately like it has more downsides to the average consumer than it used to.
Yeah, it's just tough because they're taking advantage of a situation and there's not enough. It was easier to go the route of let's put Blockbuster out of business and go streaming. I don't see now how you take streaming out of business. So like I don't know how you come back and say, let me, because of all of the rights and like copyrights, and that's what they're doing before this. So they started pulling stuff from Netflix and Amazon, and they're like, hey, we're gonna have our own thing. So now if you want it, we're not just giving it to you, you have to pay for it pretty much. And so hence the ads are becoming more, even though I pay for ad free, somehow I still get ads, and like it's really confusing to me. And now there's like different levels of that apparently of what
Prime I noticed does ads now. Like before it used to be no ads. And it's like, do you want to pay an extra $3 a month for no ads? I'm like,
there's a level of ads. There's ads, and there's like pre-ads, and then
pre-ads, not interrupting, but before, yes,
and it's like, dude, like now I have multiple levels of ad. And I was like, honestly, it's like I want to write like a apology letter to the cable companies and to Blockbuster, and just ask them to accept me back and just be like, I'm so sorry I turned my back on you and I cheated on you. I really hope you could take me back. I promise I've changed. Like if you just allow me to use your services, please come back.
I've seen that one meme of Obi-Wan like in episode 3 where he's telling Anakin like at the end of their fighting, he's like, you were supposed to be the one to destroy the Sith, not join them.
Yeah.
That's like the GIF people or the meme people use for like the streaming companies. Like
it's
you were supposed to help get rid of cable, not like
become. Carlos, it's your old saying, bro. You either die the hero or live long enough to become the villain. They have lived long enough to become the villain, and it just bugs the shit out.
It's crazy.
My mother-in-law has Spectrum because she can't handle streaming services, so she can only handle traditional cable, and she's been complaining about the price over there, and we've helped her kind of get it down a little bit. But today I went through and got a notice from my internet provider that my promotional period has ended, and so they're going to increase my internet by $70 unless I sign a 2-year contract. It was month to month before, and now they're like, you want to get your price back to the way it was? You have to sign a 2-year contract now. And so like the price of internet with all the streaming services is now more than she pays for internet and cable at her place. And it's just like, I mean, I do like the on demand and that you can do with streaming. Like, I don't want to go back to DVR days, and there's things I would miss, but yeah, it's crazy.
No,
Like,
no,
it
no, no, no,
used to
no, no, no,
be.
no, 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 no. Fuck that, dude. DVR days were the shit. It was the perfect hybrid. It was honestly the perfect hybrid. It really was. You can't
What was
complain about
the
that because
service that let you fast forward through the commercials when you DVR'd it? I think it was like Dish. I can't remember.
No, I remember because I remember
TiVo?
TiVo. It was
TiVo,
TiVo
yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember we had this one kid whose parents were pretty well off, and he had TiVo, and we worked together at Staples. And I remember like him being like, "Yeah, I'm TiVoing this," or "Oh, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
home," because back in the day you worked till like 8, 9, 10, and that was
Yeah.
prime time TV. All the
Yeah,
shows
yeah, yeah.
came on at 8. So
Yeah.
like for him, he would TiVo them, and I came from like a middle class, like we didn't have that. Like there was no DVR in my family, and like I was so jealous. And then, like, obviously, we see that was what a few years later we started getting the what do you call it, the red or not red box, but the Netflixes and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And then
I still
Hulu came out.
remember
Yeah,
recording on the VCR for like shows that we wanted
Oh
to
that's what
yeah.
we
watch.
used to do. We
Mhm.
record over other things, and you'd really
Yeah.
be pissed when you accidentally record over
Yes.
something. I was trying to explain that to my daughter. My mom had this like video camera thing. She had to like loop in to the
Mhm.
TV to record
Mhm.
onto our recorder.
And
It
then
was
you would set
weird.
the schedule, and you'd have to like go in, and sometimes you'd set up the wrong schedule, and you get so
Yeah.
mad at yourself.
Yeah, it was actually better
The
because you
good
could
old
fast
days.
forward through
Life
the
was simpler
commercials.
back then.
It was.
Life
No,
was
so
simple.
It was
so me
simpler.
and my son have like, and this goes on to like what I think like the world's coming to. So I got that Forerunner, and I've been listening to. I've been introduced him to Elvis, so we've been jamming to Elvis. He loves
Nice.
Elvis. And I was just thinking, I told him about it. I was like, man, when I was your age, I used to just sit in my room and listen to Elvis in a boombox because that was all I was allowed to listen to. And he's like, what's a
Yeah.
boombox? So like I started really thinking about this, and I was like, now I don't really, so my kids don't get devices until they're like 16, maybe 15. I
Mhm.
think my daughter got her first one when she was like 15. And I was like, man, like how can he listen to music? Because he's at that age now where he's loving music, and he would listen to Elvis all day. And I'm like, do I just get him tape decks in like a boombox? Like, is that what I do? And I'm like, because I don't want to give him an
Where
iPod
can you
because then
buy
that,
tapes now?
oh, you could get them all over. Once I got the Forerunner, like, dude, you go online, people are still selling them. You could buy used ones, new
Interesting.
ones,
I love
CDs
that.
too. CDs are still being sold. I was in Cracker Barrel the other day looking at buying some Elvis CDs.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
and it's like, yeah, Cracker Barrel's got it all, dude. And I was just thinking, I was like, I don't want to give, because one electronic device needs another one. If I get an
Mhm.
iPod, then I need like a computer or something, or I need an app, and I need internet, and I need that. So it's like, do we literally like? Is this just telling me that I'm going back to the like harkening on the olden days where I get a boombox and a CD player, and I buy CDs online for him, and that's like his. Remember when you would get CDs for Christmas?
Oh yeah. And you'd listen to them over,
Oh
All
yeah.
day, bro. You'd be up
over,
in your room just like
over.
all day.
I
I remember
remember
getting
when
the
we
tape
moved into
still.
our house, I was in like what, second grade,
Yeah.
and I remember moving into my new like room. It's the first time I had a room without my twin brother being in it, and I had a boom box, and the only CD I had was like Disney songs, like
Yeah.
from movies, like old
I
Disney,
had that.
like
I had that, bro. I had that
yeah,
CD for sure. Yeah,
yeah, and I would
that
just
CD was the
like
shit.
Which
I
on
used to listen
repeat,
to it.
movies? Like
like
They
like
had like
1,000 Leagues Under the
yeah.
Sea and stuff like that,
Yeah, I
like the
was listening to
old
Kuna
Disney
Matata
movies.
over and over, bro.
Yeah.
It'd be like a
Kuna
Kuna
Matata's a good one.
Matata, Under
Mhm.
the Sea. You're just listening. I don't
Under the
care.
Sea is a jam, dude.
Bro. Remember? Do you remember what was it? Jock Jams. I listened to
No.
Jock Jams all the time.
Jock
It was
Jams
like,
is good.
yeah, Jock Jams was good, but yeah, I was just thinking about like, is that really what it is? And like, I don't have a problem with going back to these. And so the other thing, I've seen a lot of families doing it. So I'm a conservative, I'm Christian, and I do all of this stuff, and I'm a conspiracy theorist. So I follow a lot of these people, and so now there's a whole group of parents who are
Mhm.
like this, and they're basically now because they're afraid of what. And I'm running into this with my
Mhm.
son right now because I can't control what he's
Yeah.
watching. You could set up a lot of guidelines, but then I'll walk by and like his series ended, it recommends another one. I'm not blaming him, he's a great kid, but it's like it looks interesting and he watches it, or he's up late at night and I'm not a fan of the Barbie movie and he watched the Barbie movie, and I was like, bro, like you don't think a dude in pink was a dead set that your dad's not going to want you to watch that? And I don't give a shit what anybody says. That's just my beliefs, and I'm
Yeah.
entitled to raise my kids the way I want.
Yeah,
But I
no.
was like, so there's there's a group of parents that are saying, well, we're going back to DVDs, canceling all streaming services,
That's a
and
good way to do it.
buying TV series on DVD, right?
Yeah.
Movies on DVD, and what do you call it? A DVD player, plugging into their TV, and they're canceling all their streaming services because now they stock it. And I was so pissed because I probably had like 300 DVDs.
And you got rid of them.
That when me and my ex split up like 10 years ago, we were deciding who got them, and we both agreed. No. We both agreed neither one of us wanted them because Netflix existed. So we threw them out.
Oh my gosh. That's
literally
crazy.
just in the
I
trash.
did the same thing. I had a big DVD collection and it doesn't exist today.
Yeah, I think I must have thrown mine
No,
out. I had like
neither one of
Chappelle
us-
Show, all the episodes
But
on
dude,
there.
because it took up a whole wall. It was it was massive,
Yeah.
and she didn't want it in her place. I didn't want it in my place. I was like, dude, I'm not carrying all that. Like, just throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
And
I
now
run into the same
we're
problems with
buying
my
them
kids.
again.
Like
Yeah.
I do little things a little differently than you do. And like they get a little bit of YouTube time and they're mostly watching like Minecraft. Like I trust them. Same with your kid. Like I trust them. They know what's right and what's wrong. And I know they pick what to watch, but it's the ads inside of YouTube.
Oh,
Like,
dude.
there was
the
the horror show, like a horror movie coming out this month, and like they started like showing that to the kids on YouTube. I'm like, oh my god, like how? And you can't even control it. Like there's
There
no.
was,
I mean, I have to pay for no ads, which I
It
don't
was
want to
the
do.
Gay drug, the gay AIDS or HP, whatever the
Yeah, the commercials for them. Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like it's just a bunch of dudes and chicks kissing and hugging and talking about like, oh, whatever it is, Valtrex. I don't fucking know what it is, okay?
Right, yeah.
And I'm just like walking by and I'm like, why is this a commercial on this? And it was on YouTube. I was like, why is this on here?
My wife gets so annoyed when we watch Hulu, just the two of us, because
Yeah.
there's shows on there, but they will do commercials for like hymns.com and
Yeah,
hers.com.
yeah, and I've seen those, and it's like, and they're like, get excited, last all night, and the door's closing, and there's so many
Yes.
innuendos, and it's like, why is that on here?
Exactly.
I
We
can't
feel the same
trust
way.
anything. And you know the other thing, and honestly, like this is a bazillion
Social media
dollars.
too. I was gonna say really quick, Poppy. Social
Yeah.
media too. I don't
My
think your
kids
kids are on
not
social media.
Mm-mm.
No, I don't know
But
my
those ads are like they're destructive for like humans' brains.
Wow.
Like imagine like
Yeah.
children.
It's getting
Yeah.
worse. So like the girl thing is getting worse. It's really like now there's nudity on Instagram, and it's really so. I was scrolling, and one of my meme pages, I guess obviously is getting, what do you call it, affiliate ad money for one of these OnlyFans girls. So then she posted it, and it's like they just pull her clothes off, and I'm like, I was like, what is this? My kid's sitting next to me, and I'm like, how is that even allowed on here? Like, then I get it. The guy's making money. She pays him to post because he's got 1 million some audience for meme posting. But bro, like, how's that? I can't trust anything anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
I
getting
agree.
at. I can't trust social media. I can't trust YouTube. I don't trust like the recommendations on Netflix and stuff. And it's like going back to the DVD, and the same with music too. It's like I'm going back to CDs and going back to tape decks. I can control things a little bit better, and it's like that's just my belief on how things should be. And it's
I agree.
It's the difference is, and here's where my idea comes in, is like what I don't understand. There's a lot of movies I want to watch with my kids that I watched with my parents, but they're not appropriate. But the reason why I was able to watch them at a young age is because they were on cable TV and all the explicit stuff was taken out. And we don't have that. And I don't understand why there's non-explicit versions of some of these movies, because a lot of them, like, so Jerry Maguire, I wanted to watch with my daughter. Listen, she's 18, but I still don't want to sit down and watch a sex scene with my daughter, okay? And I know because I've seen it, and as a young boy, I remember being excited about the chick riding Jerry Maguire in the beginning of the thing. And I'm thinking, like, how do I, like, overcome this? Like, how do I overcome this? And then there was an old Arnold movie I watched, Total Recall or something, and I had no idea there was nudity in it. And all of a sudden...
Is that the one where he goes to Mars?
Yeah, and all of a sudden there's a 3-titted alien with 3 tits out.
God.
And I'm like, come here!
Dude,
And I'm
I
like,
did the same thing.
how is this even in here?
With like, I was watching, we've been going through the Avenger movies with my kids. Shannon doesn't like action movies, so I watch them when she's down in Orlando and the kids are all here. And so we've gone through and so I remember the recent ones, and the recent ones don't have any explicit stuff. in it. But then we watched the first Iron Man, and like in the first 10
yeah, I
minutes,
know.
he gets in bed with the girl, and they're
Yeah,
rolling
but
around in the sheets.
there's nothing there. So we're doing it in order right now. We're on now. We just finished. We're about to start the first Avengers, so we're going
We're
in
close. We're
order
close
of
behind you.
the year being. We're following annual release time frame.
Oh, we're doing the actual timeline.
Yeah, no. So I don't like that. I wanted to because of the way they do the characters in the Marvel. They're bringing them back, pitching the next
Yeah.
movie. So I wanted him to see it like how I saw it. But anyway. So yeah, I get it, but I'm saying like, so I didn't know there was boobs in that movie because when I watched it with my dad on cable
It was cut out
TV,
because on cable
it was
TV.
cut
Yeah.
out. So my memory of that was different, and I'm starting to recognize that. I'm like, well, why can't I, as a dad, like I think that movie's perfectly fine. Why is there not an non-explicit version for parents to watch so I can still watch some of these movies parents could trust? Like I
Mhm.
can't show them The Godfather because there's a boob scene in The Godfather, and it's like so either I got to time it perfectly,
Right.
cover his eyes, fast forward it. Like
hmm
there needs to be something, which is where like I don't know. We used to have it for CDs, not explicit, non-explicit, right? Like there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's
and
still
it
for
would
streaming
even-
services. Like you can choose like the explicit or non-explicit version for music on streaming services
Yeah,
these days.
I did not know that, but that's makes sense. But we don't have that for movies. The only thing you could do is take out rate. You could take out ratings, to my understanding.
Could we? Is John going to utilize AI to make?
No, but I mean, and this is what boggles my mind is like, you're a $1 billion company, and yet nobody other than Brandon Pedersen has thought of this.
Mhm.
Like, you're telling me there's not parents in that company that are like, hey guys, like, you know what would really boost user base is if we just posted non-explicit versions of these in like a parents section, so we could all watch these movies with our fucking kids.
Yeah, this Google search is going the wrong direction. You search non-explicit movie rentals, and it pulls up the results from the opposite. Yeah, no, I remember in high school I did a project with one of my friends, and we were talking about there was a company online that was taking movies and changing certain scenes in them, or removing scenes, and you were able to rent the movies in that version. I don't remember what it was called, but
I mean,
I
stuff like
agree
that,
that should
man.
exist today, and you should be able to do it on streaming services, right?
You
Like,
should,
I mean,
how hard
you're
is it? Dude?
talking.
We
Yeah,
did
you're
it for
talking like
we
an
did it for TV.
120
Yeah.
minutes. You take 2 minutes out, 3 minutes, 4
I mean,
minutes. Like,
dude, up until streaming, everybody did. In fact, I can go when I'm at a hotel. We watch. So me and my son, like my son goes with me to the parks, right? You guys know that, and like so we can watch those movies, and I trust it because it's on cable on the TV, so it's on USA or TNT, and they're all cut out, and it's like cool. So they have those versions. They're just not giving it to us, which is where a lot of these parents are, and everyone's just controlling it. And I'm just torn, and I really want to do it, but like then, and I always tell like my wife and stuff, and it's like what I've learned as a parent over my 18 years of parenting is sometimes in order to like really, sometimes the parents have to be punished to teach the kids what you want, and it's tough because parents don't want to do that, and it's like, so to cancel TV like means I now go without TV, or like when you punish your kid and it really sucks because you wanted to do something and that little fucker didn't do what he was supposed to do, and now you got to punish him, and now you can't go have fun with your kid even though you really wanted to go bowling or go to the movies or do something or have ice cream or whatever it was you were going to do, but this messed up, and now you have to follow through on your threat, and now you're screwed. And like a lot of like parenting mistakes, in my opinion, is where they gloss over it because, well, I don't want to have to stay home,
right?
Like, so he's just going to go with me. Well, now the kid doesn't have to do his chores and he still gets to go have fun. You're supposed to stay at home with that little fucker, and you both suffer now. You both suffer.
Yeah, that's definitely a truth of parenting, and that has happened to me many occasions. Yeah, and still will, I'm sure, as my kids get older.
It happens all the way up until, I don't know.
You would let them fly.
I'm not an expert. All I know is I'm signed up officially for 36 years of parenting.
Damn, that's a lot.
You think about that. I was at my kids' swim team, right? And so I'm on my second one. I've already done 12 years with my eldest daughter of swim team, and now I'm like 5 years in, or not 5 years, I'm sorry, 3 years into this one. And like they're up there giving like awards and thanking these kids who have been there for so long. And I look over my wife and I just was like, I feel like I should get up there. Like they should be giving me a fucking award. I've been doing this shit and volunteering for like 12 fucking years. And it was funny because there are all these new parents and he's asking for a volunteer for this event. The event circles around every like 8 years or so. And we're now hosting it. And I'm the only parent who knows how difficult that is because I was involved in it. And I put my head down and I did this.
Yeah.
He's like, Brandon, where's Brandon?
And they're all like,
here.
he's like, we're going to need volunteers for this. And the parents are like, oh, yeah. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, I've been there, done that. You ain't catching me again, dude. But then I thought about it. I got another, like, 15.
It's going to come up and do the same thing.
With my 2 little ones. So I'm going to be doing swim team. I'm going to be on that effing swim team for 30 years.
That's crazy.
30 years I'm going to be on that swim team because my daughter started when she was 6 and I got to cycle through to my last one. That's 30 years on that swim team.
That's
And
crazy.
I'm like, bro, that's wild when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, most parents, you're 18 and you're out, bro. Maybe 20, 22 and you're just out.
That's what I'm looking forward to. That's going to be my time period.
When I had my daughter in college, I thought today, because I dropped her
Be
off.
free?
This was the day. And so I rationalized
That's hilarious.
becoming a parent at that age. I was like, it's cool. Like, I'll be almost 40. And
That is exactly what I said to myself.
Yeah, and I was like, my life's going to be great. I'll be successful, blah, blah, blah. My daughter will be like my best friend. We'll be in nursing homes together. It'll be great. And then I signed up.
Did it all again.
I love them, though. I love those little,
yeah.
little shits. But, yeah.
You can't not love them.
But,
they're worth every moment of it most of the time.
Yeah, dude. So you want to hear a mobile home park story?
I do. I was I feel like we haven't gotten any updates from you, and I know you've been going a lot.
Bro. So here's a wild one. This is one I'm going to make a TikTok video on it because I'm sure I'll get some views. And I have a story about that too. I got a bill for $13,000 from the water company today.
What? 13,000.
So it's so crazy. Our mobile home park, we service the water. And so I've been moving. I just don't want to get into the weeds on this, and I'm trying to gloss it over. But when you run a mobile home park, you carry the water and you bill it back. Well, you can't bill it back without meters, or you charge a flat rate. So I've been putting meters in. And this whole time, Brittany's like, why are you putting meters in? Like, our water bill's only like $100 and some. And so for a year and a half, we've been trying to figure out why this water bill is so, or for a year, we've been trying to figure out why this water bill is so low. We've had them go out, look at our meters. We've had them check, like, this doesn't make sense for this many people. Like, something's wrong. No, it's not. No. We've had Liberty go out, verify, check it. Everything's fine. Brittany's like, well, we're wasting all this money for you to. I mean, we've spent like
put meters in. Like, why put meters in if it's only $100?
Yeah, because the install cost is like budgeted like $8,000. We're about $5-6 into the install. We have a few more to install. Plus, we pay monthly for these. It's a lot, right? And I'm like, honey, I was like, I don't know. One, this is just what I budgeted for. This is the process. It helps our valuation, and I still don't trust the bill. Well, today we got that bill, and it was $13,000 because apparently they realized that the meter something was incorrect, and in my mind, he had to go and do this to it. And all of a sudden, those little dials just on, and they're like, "Oh, that's where all of our missing money went. Here's $13,000," and they're like, "You got to pay it by next week, or you start getting late fees."
So hold on, is this $1,300 1 month, or is this back pay? 13,000. Is it back pay or just
back
1 month?
pay since December?
Okay.
We bought the park in November of last year, so this is back pay since December, basically. Which is exactly when I told them something was wrong, because the old owners were reading at like $900 a month, and our bill was at like $100 and something. I was like, this doesn't make sense, because at $1,000 a month, it makes sense for me to do meters, right?
Yeah.
It does. I'm not going to get into the math, but that affects your valuation, all the expenses.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Brittany's on the phone, and like, I think she was a lot nicer. We're paying it, but I don't feel like we should have to pay it.
No, that's their fault. You called them out, and they looked at it, and they said everything is fine. Why should you be
100%? So it's either get the lawyer involved,
or
they
utility companies.
So again, you have no say as a citizen. Like, they'll just be like, no water for you, and we'll stack on late fees. So now I got to go spend money on a lawyer. And listen, lawyers aren't cheap. I have a great lawyer in Arkansas. And I know that when I evict somebody, it costs me $2 to $3 grand, maybe 1,800, 1,600 if it's a real easy eviction. But like some of them are running like 2,300, 2,400.
Yeah.
So that's just an eviction of him sending some fucking letters and emails. Could you imagine what my bill is going to be if he's arguing with a fucking utility company? And so I weigh those costs of like what is really worth. Like I've learned my lesson on lawyers because there's been points where I get angry.
Yeah.
Like
I've heard your lessons. They're good lessons.
I got angry. I did the eviction. Cost me $2,500. I should have just had the lady move out. It took just as long as her moving out because she fought it. I should have just, you know what I mean? She was like, I'm going to be out at the end of the month. I'm like, fuck you. You didn't listen to me. I'm evicting you. Should have never done that. So now, anyway, so 13
So I'm
grand.
curious with your 1,300. Do you feel like you can
13 grand, bro? Stop
13
saying
grand.
1,300.
Sorry, I'm not good with big numbers. You can't probably pass any of that on to your tenants.
I can't pass any of it on regardless because
Yeah.
one, our leases just went out, and the only thing that we put on there is that we're billing you for usage. So now that our meters are installed, they're going to get a bill. But here's the best part, is we've been slow playing it because again, Brandon was ahead of the curve installing meters. Our costs were so low, it was like pointless. Now we got to ramp it up because now this bill is coming due and we got to pay that. We went on a monthly plan. And now the actual costs are now real, and they're going to hit.
Is it around that $1,000 a month?
It's going to be a little bit higher. We've also sprung a bunch of leaks lately, so there's been a lot of issues with leakage. So we're trying to replace some of the piping in our park too. Just a long story of stuff going on in that park. So there's a lot of give and take, but yeah, it's probably going to be around 1,000 to 1,500 somewhere in there. But that's fine. When you do this, you expect like a 75% recapture. So I'm cool with carrying a few $100s of water from leakage or all that, as long as I can bill my tenants for the rest. But we made our choice on rent raises and what we were billing back when we did not have this info. So the problem is I personally made the executive decision of what to carry as my cost for this year, what to raise rent to, and what to bill back. So I incurred some extra costs, and I didn't want to be too stressful on my tenants. So I raised the rent for them and said I was going to bill back water for them. I did not want to charge them for sewer or for the trash or for the lawn just yet, because I was already going to be increasing them probably anywhere from, because the rent was $50 a month. And then I think the water bill
$50 a month?
I raised the rent on them. Yeah.
Oh, you raised it 50. I thought
they were only, if you want a real wow moment, they were only at $175 a month.
Holy crap.
There you go. Exactly. And they're not paying anything. They pay no water, no trash, no sewer, no lawn.
So and you're raising their
all complaining.
$50.
Yeah. So we're up at $225 and billing back water. And the reason why I made that decision is because I said, okay, my costs aren't that crazy right now. Like I can do this. But now my 25% of that recapture is going to be a lot higher than what I was anticipating each month. And so now I'm regretting not billing for sewer. I'm regretting not billing back for lawn. But now that I've sent the leases out,
can't change that.
Yeah, I can't change that. So now for the next year, it is what it is. And now next year I know better. Now I could play devil's advocate and say, Brandon, even if I knew that, there is only so much you can bend a tenant on total.
Yeah, like what's the risk of them leaving? And then now you've got vacancies.
So let's say they went up $75. Now it may not seem like a lot. $50 for rent, maybe they're going to get billed $25, $50 for water. Let's say 25, right? So now they're paying $250 total. But a month ago, they were paying $175. They did not save $75. It's not like they're saving the money. So if I wanted to go up and say, hey, now you owe me $125 extra, that's a huge stress on people. So I weigh the total cost of rent or total cost of living in my park, not just the total cost of rent. So total cost of living is internet, electricity, right? It is water, sewer, trash, all those things.
Streaming services?
Yeah, plus. And the streaming services are probably high in this park because they have no cable or anything. They're all using their cell phones for everything.
Jeez.
So it's very iffy. So anyway, we got on a payment plan and we're going to pay it. But now I mean, I'm not happy. I have to disclose this to my investors in the park at the end of the quarter. I'll let them know what happened and why our numbers are going to be off because of this. And, this is on me. Luckily, I already have the meters installed, so I did make
Yeah,
a
I
very
mean, you're
smart
further
decision.
along to solving the problem than if you
Yeah.
didn't do what
Oh,
you were
yeah. I
already
mean,
planning to do.
we're already all over it. Like, dude, I already got my software up, and I'm like, bro, that's it, dude. They're getting bills next month. This is on. I'm not coasting, dude.
How much
This
is
is
it?
it.
How much are you paying monthly per meter?
So I bill that back too. So right now I
Okay.
was carrying the $7.50 cost per meter,
Yeah.
and they're gonna get that bill as well.
So they'll get 750. Do they see line items for this, or they just see like it's a water charge, including the
Oh,
750?
they'll get their. It's not gonna be line item per se, but they'll. Yeah, I guess it would be, but they'll get their gallon, like their usage.
You shut it off remotely?
I I don't know if I can, but I know they can. I'm pretty sure. And
The
I
company
also had.
that did the meters?
Yeah, but I also had my. So when I paid for install, um, so previously, when one leak happened, the entire park had to get shut down on a
Yeah, I
unit.
remember that story. That was a good
So
one.
I have paid now for shut-off valves in the back of every single meter that I'm installing.
Nice.
So now if you leak, I could do it. So I'm thinking it through and doing what needs to be done on the park. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, all of it's cost. It's all money. It takes time. So yeah, I mean, they're gonna see it, but now I have shut-off valves and I have meters, and I'm gonna bill you, and you're gonna pay your fair share, and um,
That's
yeah.
crazy. $13,000 bill.
Mm-hmm. It's like a semester at Auburn.
Right? There you go.
Yeah, dude. So here's my final story for you. This will be good. I'm sure if she sees this video, she's gonna flip out some more. So one, we all know I'm not that famous, okay? Maybe in my mind I'm pretty famous, but on the internet, I'm a plebe, dude. Like I literally have like less than 1,000 followers until all this happened. Now TikTok is trending me apparently.
What?
So not in the real sense of trending, but in Brandon's minor world of like how many views I'm getting, it's pretty impressive.
You're trending.
Yeah, in my world, I'm trending. In the mobile home park space in Cordell, Georgia, I'm trending. So I make videos, and listen, you guys know me. I tend to be, I may have sarcasm and wit to where like I could insult people and be very brash, but at the
Yeah.
same point, I'm not braggart or like really putting people down type of thing, or like bragging
Sure,
about
yeah.
like me taking advantage of people or anything. Anyway, so I make a video about me. My videos that seem to hit are ones where I'm talking about people getting evicted, or how ugly a unit is, or how trashed a park is, or how much the previous owners were slumlords. And like, look at this, because people love to come onto my comments and they love to tell me I'm a slumlord, or I'm a Trump cult member, or how dare I kick people out, or how I'm insensitive. And it doesn't matter, because the more they comment, the more it helps me to get my views up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm learning the algorithms and I'm learning all this. So I made a video about a trailer, two videos. One's about a trailer that I was told I got for free with the sale because the guy died, and I was told he died in the trailer.
Yeah. You
Okay,
can't find that. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Okay. And so I made a thing, and I fell through the floor, and I made a video about it, and I made this comment about like, yeah, the guy croaked inside. I was like, the tree fell on it. Did the tree get him? We'll never know. But let's go inside and take a look. It's a fucking joke, dude. Okay. Obviously, the tree didn't get him. When you look inside, the tree didn't even come fucking through the roof. So I did that, and I made another one about people not paying, and look at, they left human feces in, and da 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 da, and look how trashed it is, and these people, I'm taking their deposit and all this. Apparently somebody in my park saw it.
No.
And so I'm getting these messages on my thing, and I had no idea who they were. I suspected it was somebody in the city of Cordell, because you're like, he didn't die in the park. This is so offensive, blah, blah, blah. How dare you put this family's business on blast? No names, no nothing. All it was a picture of the fucking mobile and me falling through the floor. My response was, is this your first day on the internet? And like, apparently that set them off. And then they were going back and forth in my comments. So I'm just being sarcastic. And they're like, you're bashing people. And I'm like, that's funny. I was like, you're bashing the American people, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's funny, because I'm American people, and you came to my post to bash me. So it takes one to spot one. I'm rubber,
Mhm.
you are glue. So I'm just being really sarcastic. So I go to the park, and this lady comes, knocks on my son sitting with me, right? Because he's with me and all this shit. And she knocks on my window because like I'm in the thing taking my notes on my pad. And I'm like, what's going on? And she has this ripped piece of paper because she's $1,200 behind on rent, 2 months, right? And she's like, I need my lease. And I'm like, okay, well, we sent you the lease in the mail. Nah, I never got it. You didn't give it to me. And I'm like, okay, well, we sent it out. Everyone else got theirs. Nah, they didn't. I've been asking around. Nobody got their lease. Okay, man. Lie, okay, because I've already been getting calls on it. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll find out what's going on and I'll make sure you get a copy. I need you to drop it off. And I'm like, okay, man, like that's perfectly fine. Like, and so anyway, so I text and Brittany responds back. We're like, yeah, we sent them out. I've been trying to get her email. Everyone else got anyone I have emails to, I send electronic copies.
Mhm.
So I go over and she's coming out of her dad's trailer because her dad lives in the park too. Bro. And I'm like, is your daughter there? And he's like, what's up? And he's pretty cool. And he's like, I'm like, is your daughter there? And he's like, what? And he's confused. And then I see her in the car and she gets out. What do you want? And I'm like, and she's just being hostile, bro. And I'm like, well, what's your email? And I was like, my office said they'll email it to you. And she's like, I ain't got no email. I'm like, you don't have an email? She's like, no, I told you, just give it to me. You can hand deliver it to me the next time you're up. I'm like, well, I mean, if you have an email, like I can just have an email. I don't have an email. My phone thing fell off on I-75. I ain't got no email. I don't have anything to access my email. Okay. Apparently, we said that. And I'm like, I go, well, ma'am, you're not having a lease, like our version of the lease, because when you buy a property, you take over all previous like
Right.
rights of any lease, even if it was verbal. I sign a document that says I inherit all of that, the
Mhm.
good and the bad. And I'm like, well,
Mhm.
ma'am, doesn't mean you don't pay. I ain't paying anything because you didn't give me a lease. I need a lease. I said, ma'am, you're 2 months behind on rent. I was like, just because you don't have our copy, and it was sent out. No, it wasn't, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you need to pay your rent. And her dad's standing between us, where my son's sitting in the car. This chick starts going off, screaming. We're standing in the middle of the park. She is flailing her hands at me. She's trying to lunge at me. Her dad puts her arm up and starts yelling at her to go in the car. Get in the
What?
car. He's like, nah, daddy. This is a grown woman, like 30 years old. Nah, daddy. He don't give a shit about us. He's on TikTok making fun of everybody in this thing. And I go,
Damn.
boom, gotcha. Not, I didn't
Mhm.
say that, but in my head, now I know what the hostility is.
Mhm.
And she's like, you said that this man croaked in here and he didn't. I said, I looked at her and I smiled. I said, oh, so that was you. Now I understand. Ah, it wasn't me. I ain't be doing nothing on TikTok. And I said, oh, really?
Their phones on I-75.
I didn't say that. That didn't connect with me until I
Uh-huh.
was relaying the story to my wife later on in the car, and then that piece connected. I was not. I was being. It was a verbal back and
Yeah,
forth
yeah,
yelling
yeah.
match. But you're right. Later on, I go, well, if that was her on TikTok, how the fuck does
How
she
does she
not have
not?
her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
And
didn't. I
how do you
didn't.
log into your TikTok account there, ma'am? My
I
email.
should have.
What
I
email address
wish.
do you use?
I wish I would have done that. So anyway, like she's yelling, and I was like, "Well, listen." And so you know how like it's almost like I was gonna say, but like liberals or like when you're in a political argument, they pick the one thing that you're wrong about, and then they want to. You
Yeah.
could be right about 20 other things in a
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
a debate, and they'll just be like the one thing, and that's all she was doing. He didn't die in there. I go, okay, who cares? He's dead. I was told he died in there, so I made a video about him dying in there. That wasn't even the point of the video. The death was only like clickbait. It wasn't
Mhm.
even like that wasn't even the thing. And she's like, you're in here showing people that we live like this, da 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 da. And the dad is yelling at her again to get in the car. So she goes in the car and he
Mhm.
starts talking to me, and he's not happy with my TikTok videos because
Oh, so
I'm
he's
putting.
seen them too?
Yeah, well, she's shown him to him. He doesn't
Okay.
have it, so he's cool, very nice dude, but very like very mellow, very monotone,
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
very calm.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't have it, it's not good for his health. He's old, he doesn't really care about that, but she showed it to him. And he thinks that if I have a problem with how somebody's living, that I don't need to make a video about it and post it online. I need to just make the video and send it to the courts and let the courts deal with it. And I'm like, well, sir, that's not why I post. I was like, one, I put no people in my videos unless it's like positive, like my lawn guys, I'm bragging about them, or like the cleanup crews, I'm bragging. I'm like, this guy's doing a fucking great job. You know what I mean? Like blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, I don't do any of that, sir. Like, I mean, it's just literal videos to help my business. Like, I'm just showing people what I do. Well, then you could just send it to them directly. You don't need to be posting it online. Okay. Anyway, long story short, this whole thing starts getting sideways. She comes running back out of the fucking car, screaming at me about how I don't give a shit about anybody in that park and about how her rent, I raised her rent on her, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't. I was told it was, again, I have rent roll that her rent was $600. She's showing me a 3-year-old lease that says it was $480. My rent roll says she started paying $600 in January. And I simply told her this. I said, ma'am, I said, and this was back when I took over the park in May. I said, ma'am, if you don't want to pay $600, that's fine. You could pay your $480, but I'm going to let you know what happens. You're on a month-to-month lease. You could pay your $480, and then I'll issue you a non-renewal, and then I'll be asking you to leave. Not for non-payment, but just because we no longer need to have you in the park. I was like, and I'll be within my rights. Now, if you want to pay the $600 or $650 or whatever, you can stay in the park. And she's now using that against me, saying that I don't really give a shit. One, this lady lies about everything. And so I have no idea. All I have is a rent roll that was given to me. Everyone else said their rents were accurate. She's claiming it's not. Moral of the story is, lady, you ain't renting this place for $480 regardless, okay? So even if, again, I'll just raise your rent up to the rent that I want it to be at. And if you don't like it, you can leave. And now she's saying, you came into here, the poorest area in Georgia, and you're over here just getting us. And I'm like, one, I haven't raised any cost. I was like, ma'am, I've cleaned up the park. I've spent so much money cleaning this park up. She goes, it's an investment. That's your job is to do it. Don't you complain about spending money. It's your job to do that. You invest in this. And I'm like, are we talking about the same thing? Because you're admitting to me that I'm investing in the park, but then yelling at me. I didn't say this, but this was going on. Like, you're yelling at me for taking advantage of you, but then you're also admitting that I'm investing in the park. Like, I'm very confused as to what's going on right now, because you're mad at me because I was told your rent's at $600, but then you paid it for 2 months. But now that you're 2 months behind, you're flipping out at me again, yelling at me and shit. But then when I tell her, so then I say, well, you can just leave. And where am I supposed to go? Huh? Do you even care about that? What would you say? Like, I just want to be like, well, ma'am. So what I said was, well, ma'am, you need to pay your rent. You can't just stay and not pay your rent. And so, moral of the story, this is going back and forth of just nonsense. My son is standing at the car. Thank God he didn't come over. He's just standing there watching me get yelled at, right? Just fucking violently yelled at by this lady. And like, the dad is staying calm. And so he yells at her again as like a dad, like, listen to me, get back. And then she's not listening. He said, get back in the car. She's not getting back in the car. He said, you get in there right now and listen to me. Nah, daddy. Nah, daddy. She's not listening. I'm like, oh shit, she's not listening. And I'm like looking back, is my son watching this? Because this dad's not, his kid's not listening to him. This fucker better watch what happens when you don't listen to your dad, because you turn out like this. And I'm like, oh shit. And then I look in her car and her kid's in there watching her mom like flip out. And I'm like, this is getting fucking wild. And I look over and I'm like, oh shit, my lawn crew's watching all this happen. And I'm just getting fucking yelled at. Now, here's the thing of where I think I have matured. A couple years ago, I would have wanted to be right. And I would have argued all the things that made me right. But in this moment, I stayed calm and I didn't argue. And my goal was not to prove anything. And I was just simply like, and I refuted a couple things while we're cleaning up the park. And the only thing I wanted to refute was, nobody's in my videos.
Yeah.
So like,
privacy is still intact.
So anyway, the dad's basically like, hey, listen, I get it, man. You do what you got to do. And I was like, because I threatened, I was like, you're basically going to be removed from the park. You're 2 months behind. I'll just remove you. And he's like, you do what you got to do, man. You go to the courts. We'll do what we got to do. Totally understand. I got no problem with you. I said, bro, I got no problem with you. Perfectly fine. You got a nice place. You pay your rent. We've been on the phone with him. He had some questions about the lease and the community rule book. He worked it out with Brittany. He's fine. He's signing, like, no big deal. But his daughter. So anyway, long story short, I then go and talk. I got this lady in like one of the lots. She's a deer, gossip. I go down and I talk to her. I'm like, "What's going on, girl?" I was like, "Fill me in on what's happening." And this is how
Wow.
we like. And I'm just like, "What's up?" I was like, "I know people come to you. So what are you
Mhm.
hearing?" And she's like, "I heard about your TikTok videos."
Oh my god, that's funny.
And she's like, I was like, "You did?" I was like, "What'd you hear? Was it bad?" And she's like, "People don't want to live here." And I'm like, "Why is that?" I was like, "Was it my hat?" And she goes, "I don't know
Mhm.
what it was, but my friend sent me a video saying, 'Is this where you live? Is that your landlord?'" And she sent me a screenshot. I was like, "Yeah, that's my landlord. Oh man, what'd he do now?" And she's like, "Oh man, he seems really mean. I don't want to live there." But she was like, "Well, she wanted to live here, but now she doesn't want to because she's afraid you're going to put her on TikTok and put her on blast and you're going to be mean to her." And I was like, "Girl, do you really think I'm mean?" I was like, "We've talked all the time, and you've like, I've known you for how many months now? Do you think I mean?" She's like, "Well, no, but your TikToks." And like we started talking, and she's like, "Well, really, what happened was somebody in the park found your TikTok, then started sending it to everybody else in the park to tell them about what you were doing, and then it started getting around the town." Again, when you're in a small town, now people in the town
Hmm.
know about my TikTok videos, which is probably why my TikTok videos. So I was at,
Because
I'll say
everybody
this.
in the town is watching your
Listen to
TikToks.
me when I say this. This amazes me. I was at 60, I'm going to butcher this, 65, 68,000, whatever. We'll round and say 70 for the sake of just not being wrong. 70,000 views when I had that
Across all your
conversation.
videos.
No, across that one video, 70,000
Oh, okay.
views. For the rest, by the end of the day, I was at 111,000 and now I'm at 130,000. For some reason, it was like TikTok heard me arguing about this video and it's like, "We got to send this out to more people.
Seriously.
Let's do this." And I got
Seriously.
what took me a week in views, I doubled in a day. And I was like, "This is mind boggling that this is
Yeah.
not even the dead guy. It was about me kicking somebody out. The one about me saying, I'm booting these people out. They're dodging me, blah, 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 blah. That video with my Trump hat went crazy viral. And my other ones with my
Mm.
Trump hats obviously get as much hate and all that stuff. And so I kept asking, and she was dodging. I'm like, "Is it my hat? You could tell me if it was my hat." And she was smiling. She was like, "It's like, I don't know what it was. I really watched the videos, but I'll tell you this. I don't really do the whole TikTok thing, but I'm about to go inside right now and watch them all because I need to know what everyone's talking about." She was like, "I just saw the screenshot my friend sent me, and now people don't want to live in here because they're saying you're mean." And I was like, "Well, what do you tell them?" I was like, "Do
Mhm.
you tell them I'm mean?" She's like, "No, I say you're a pretty nice guy, that I got no problems with you." She's like, "I just wish that you would let me put my fire pit in the back, but other than that," I was like, I'm like, "Well, let me talk about your fire pit for a second, about why we can't have fucking fire pits in a fucking mobile home park community, okay? Like, let me tell you about what happens when a fire jumps
Mhm.
from one mobile to the next mobile."
Yeah.
Anyway,
Scary.
so it's just wild. And I find the whole moral of this story, guys, I'm sorry to walk you through that 10-minute
Dude, you're
story,
good.
but it's like this. It would be my luck. I have little to no followers. I don't monetize TikTok as of today. I make zero money off anything I do on social media. And somehow it has already backfired on me to where it has gotten to, in a small town in fucking Georgia, it has
Mhm.
found the person who lived across somebody who I made a joke about, maybe a tree fell on the home and killed the guy. And it's
That's
like
pretty funny.
that has now
You
spiraled out
called
of
it though.
control. Yeah.
It's
Why?
not like
So
it randomly happened. You're like, I'm gonna get TikTok. You're like, I'm gonna get blow up on
Oh yeah, I mean,
TikTok.
obviously, my intention was for the videos to be seen. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just like, really,
No, that is
out of
crazy
the
though.
billions of people in the world, it happened to just like go back here, and she was like, "Yeah," and like we saw it, and we were like, "Ah, that's not us." And then we saw the one trailer, and we were like, "Yeah, that trailer's in our park." And I guess they're mad, but I was like, "Man, all my videos are about me cleaning up." And then she started yelling. She's like, and going back to the other thing, one thing she yelled is like, "Yeah, and you were talking down on David, saying he's stupid and he did this and he was a slumlord." I was like, "Hey, if David has a fucking problem," I was like, "he could call me because I'll tell him that to his fucking face about the shit that he did to this park." Because what do you got, Nightingale syndrome or something? What is that called? Is that Nightingale syndrome where you're like, you fall in love with your captor or something?
Stockholm.
Stockholm syndrome. I was like, "You got Stockholm syndrome? This guy abuses you and leaves litter and trash and glass and fucking never fixes anything, and there's
Yeah.
rats and like just sewage everywhere, and you're upset because I call him a slumlord and say he's stupid because he didn't know how to run his park. You're mad about that?" And he's the guy who told me what your supposed rent rate was that you're saying I'm lying about.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that, you're defending him, but the guy who comes in has cleaned up 62 tons of trash, has hired lawn crews, fixed your sewage problems, is repiping the park. Like, this is the guy you're attacking right now?
Hmm.
Like, anyway, so I got in the car with my son. He's like, Dad, what happened? He's like, why was she so mad? So my lesson to him, I was like, son, let me ask you something. Did you hear her yelling? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, what did you see me do? He goes, well, nothing. You just stood there. And I was like, because I stayed calm. I was like, son, you're never going to change somebody's mind when they're angry. I was like, there was no reason for me to get angry in that moment. The best thing I could do is hear her out, make sure I stood up for myself on a few points, and just let her yell.
Mhm.
And I was like, now we will remove her from our park. That's our power move. Arguing with her is not a power move. But when she gets a notice posted on her doors in 2 days, after we talk to our lawyer, of course, she will then realize the error of her ways. But in that moment, me yelling or
wasn't-
arguing was never going to do anything but cause more chaos. And anybody watching would have seen that. And I was like, the
Yeah.
real power move is silence. And I was like, son, real intelligence, and I tell him this all the time, real intelligence isn't knowing what to say, it's knowing when to say it. And in that moment, saying nothing was better. And he talked about it multiple times throughout the day. He was just asking me about why.
He'll remember that. He'll
Bro,
definitely remember that.
it was wild. I just can't like really state how wild of yelling and like all. And she was like running around the car and like, get back in the car. No, daddy, I'm not getting in the car. I'm like, this chick's like 30 years old. Like, why are you calling? Like, I get it. Like, I hope my daughter calls me daddy, but I swear to God, if my daughter at 30 years old still doesn't fucking listen to me when I tell her to shut up and get in the car, I mean, like, Jesus, I was like, how is she not listening to her own father right now?
Right.
That she's wilding out in front of her kid, in front of her dad in the park. It was wild.
So you gonna change anything with your videos?
Nah, bro.
Double down.
The only thing I listen, and you know too, because you and I argue about politics and stuff, or we don't argue, but we debate, and I want to
Yeah.
make sure that I'm not wrong. I don't necessarily need to be right, but I want to make sure I'm not off base on things. So
Right.
I'll ask people stuff, and I take advice. And so I asked my wife, and I asked, I was just like, do you think any of my videos are just out of line? She's like, no. And I was like, I'm not posting anything because that's just me ethically. I'm not trying to like brag or
Yeah,
put
yeah.
down. I'm literally posting the truth, and it's not
Yeah.
derogatory. Listen, you left a piece of shit house. I'm going to say you left a piece of shit house. If you're a
Mhm.
piece of shit person, I'm going to call you a piece of shit person. Simple as that. If you're a slumlord, I'm calling you a slumlord. Like, I'm calling it like I see it, bro, but I'm not lying about it. And yeah, maybe I was wrong about where the guy died, okay? Like, I didn't know he died in a hospital. I was told he died in the trailer. So, But then again, the previous owner lied about a lot of other things, so it doesn't surprise me that that was a lie as well.
That would have been a hell of a TikTok if your son was recording that whole thing.
Yeah.
Blur their faces out.
I know, right? And it was funny because then the next thing I see on TikTok or whatever is Scott, I forget his last name. He's doing 5, he's like, follow me along for 5 evictions. And bro, like they're wild and he's just filming them, people's faces, everything. And so I sent it to my wife and I was like, I bet this guy's not getting fucking yelled at in the front of all of his properties. And he's posting people's faces and shit. Literally getting booted out by the sheriffs. All I do is walk through an empty building and I'm getting lambasted.
That's pretty funny.
Wild, dude. So
Dude,
like
don't own it. Keep him going.
Yeah, no, I
Mhm.
have, and I made a joke. And to the lady that I gossip with, I was like, "Well, I'll tell you this much: they're not gonna like my next ones because I just walked through 2 properties. They ain't gonna. If they didn't like those, they ain't gonna like these. I can tell you that much.
Oh my gosh.
Because yeah, they left them with trash, and there's rotting meat and rats, and I'm like, what do you want me to say? He's like, just make a video and send it to the courts. And so here's the other thing: is like I may be a prick sometimes, but John, if you leave my place voluntarily, it's called voluntary abandonment. I don't know about every state, but the states I'm in allow it. I may not like you, and I may want to really just you, but you left voluntarily. If I have a deposit, I'll take it. I don't need to hire an attorney in eviction, so I could take over the property. And everyone's like, you need to go through a proper, and that's the yelling, everyone's yelling. You got to go through an eviction, TikTok, people in the park. And it's like, one, I'm not going to argue legal matters. But no
Yeah.
offense, Sean, I may not like you, but like, it's a headache for me. And like, why am I going to do that to you, bro? You didn't cause me. You may not have paid me. You may have left my place of trash, but honestly, you left. Okay.
Yeah, you didn't make it a
left.
hassle.
Yeah. And you didn't like burn my place down. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I going to go file an eviction on your record?
Mm-hmm.
Spend that money and do that to you. Now, if you caused me headaches and you didn't leave, I would do that because I would have
Right.
to. But it's like, and people just want me to file evictions on everyone. It's like, that's not how this goes, bro. Like, I don't want to do that. You leave when I ask you to leave, or you leave and these people left without even saying. They just disappeared in the middle of the night, left the door unlocked, and I went in.
It's funny.
Why am I going to evict you? So,
Yeah.
and that creates a lot of drama too. And so it's like, obviously those things. So no, I'm going to double down. I'm just going to make the same videos where I'm not doubling down. I'm not going any harder. Am I going to wear my Trump hat more? Oh yeah, bro. I love it. Like my son has one too. He's walking around the park wearing one and I was wearing one. And it's just like, and it's amazing. I'm going to make a video about this, but it's amazing. People say on my videos, I am glad that they're not paying you wearing that hat. If you showed up to my door wearing that hat, I wouldn't pay you either. And it's like, it's funny that you're allowed to discriminate against me for my political affiliation and say you won't pay me, even in jest. But if I in jest said, I am not going to rent to you based on race, religion,
Right.
political affiliation,
Right.
I would be lambasted. But because I am MAGA, big bad landlord, you guys can say that to me?
Mm-hmm.
That boggles my mind how people think they're right when they say that, regardless of political affiliation. Like that they think
Like
that's
most
okay.
people who spend their time in TikTok comments are rational.
And it's like, that'd be like me saying like, oh, I'm a Dolphins fan and you're a Tampa Bay fan and like you're my landlord. I'm not paying you, bro. The Dallas or you're the
Mhm.
Cowboys. Like you love the Cowboys and you walk up in a Cowboys jersey. Like, I'm not paying you now. Fucking Cowboys. Nah,
Okay.
dude. Cowboys fans are stupid. I'm like, oh, that's the equivalent of what I'm wearing is a football jersey, okay? It's a MAGA hat. It's just like basically a fucking team jersey or a
Yeah.
team sports hat. And people are getting bent out of shit. And it
Oh yeah.
blows my mind. You should troll my comment section, John. Like, you will be thoroughly entertained in that comment section. It blows my mind. And I'm not, like, I can't imagine what people like Nick Perry go through. Because I look at him and like, some of these guys, like,
Mhm.
and they may not post controversial shit. They're posting about money and making
Right.
money in checks. He's not posting about negative houses or tenants or stuff, but there's other guys who do. And they're
Yeah.
much more famous than me. Like,
Mhm.
bro, I have like 900 people who watch my stuff, okay? Except for this one thing. They have like 100. Like Carlos has like, what, 500,000 people following him? Ryan Pineda, these guys. Like, it just, I can only imagine what that's like on that scale when I have
Crazy.
900 followers and this is what happens. So, but until this point, I respond to every comment. So,
Enough
Keep
that
it
and
rolling. Keep it
Yeah.
rolling, baby.
I love my, and she called me TikTok tough. She
TikTok.
said,
That's hilarious.
she goes, I see you're one of those, huh? You're TikTok tough, but in real life, you're nothing. And
That's
she was doing
hilarious.
this with her arms. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty real.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want me to do or say. Like, I'm still being sarcastic. Like, I just sarcastic. But she didn't like all my comments. So
That's amazing.
That's funny. Well, we have some guests coming up, so I don't think we're having any next week.
No,
but we got
nothing
some-
book set date yet, but 2 people coming on. Scott
Yeah.
Morse from Lamasu Leads, all cold calling, data, stuff like that. Joshua Dayrit, all things PPC with our ideal systems, which will be exciting.
We'll get into some custom audience retargeting for sequences as well. So stay tuned for more Let's Talk Real Estate.